We'll do our Bhagavad Gita dhyana. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaധ്യായിനീം Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad-gite Bhavatveshinim Namostate Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Phallaravinda Yatapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Tela Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikaparnaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita-mృతదుహే Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita-mృతం Mahat Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay. We are seeing Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, and we have reached the section where Bhagavan is just about to tell us about tapas of speech. So what have we seen so far? Well, this chapter is called Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga, meaning Bhagavan is talking about the three types of Shraddha. Our Shraddha determines our destination, our happiness, but our Shraddha is not something that we can see. So Bhagavan indicates to us how we can check our Shraddha through different things. The way we invoke Bhagavan or do any kind of activity with dedication, the way we engage with food, meaning what we eat, when we eat, how we eat, like that. And now he's indicating to us our tapas, the way in which we go about our discipline or what discipline we engage in. We saw tapas comes from the root tap, which means to burn. Anything that burns our impurities is tapas. We also saw tap is the opposite of pat, which means to fall. So anything that lifts us from our fallen state is considered tapas. And finally, in this section, in this chapter, Bhagavan is using tapas in a general connotation of discipline. So let us see. Bhagavan doesn't go straight into sattvic, rajasic, tamasic tapas like he normally does for the other categories. Here, he first identifies tapas at the level of our different instruments. What is tapas at the level of the body? What is tapas at the level of the speech? And what is tapas at the level of mind? Having established that, then he talks about what is sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic tapas. So we've seen tapas of the body, and it is not standing on one leg and putting your physical body through torture. Bhagavan has very nicely elaborated on how tapas of the body is, first of all, pujanam, puja, reverence for Deva, Dvija, Guru, Prajna, 4 different categories of people. He also highlighted that physical tapas is shaucham, cleanliness, and arjavam, not having any unnecessary movement of body. And then no restlessness of body like that. And then brahmacharyam, the definition Gurudev gives very nicely for us, is moderation in everything. And ahimsa, non-intending to cause any pain to any other being physically. So this was tapas of the body. Now we get into tapas of speech. You know, it is so important to know what to say, when to say it. And our speech is not just words. Any kind of communication is considered speech. You know, in Ramayana a few weeks ago, we were seeing how Marich, pretending to be Bhagavan Sri Rama, he calls out for Lakshmana. And Lakshmana and Sitaji hear it where they are. And Sitaji gets scared and she says, Lakshmana, go. Rama needs help. And Lakshmana laughs. That is his initial reaction to Sitaji saying, Bhagavan Rama needs help. Because Lakshmana knows Bhagavan Rama does not need any help. He just fought 14,000 Rakshasas single-handedly, like a few days ago. And now you're saying he needs help from this one little Marich, right? But Lakshmana laughs, and that laugh, because of the time at which he laughs and the fear which Sitaji is going through, she takes it in the wrong way. And she gets upset and angry, and she says things to him which she shouldn't have said, right? So actually, that laugh was a form of communication that came out at the wrong time. So it is very important to watch what we say, when we say it, how we say it, to who we say it, right? And so Bhagavan takes time now to talk about it. Because how many times have you said something and then you said, no, 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 actually I didn't mean it. And you know, sometimes the consequences are really terrible. Like it was demonstrated in Ramayana, how terrible those consequences were. And later on, when Hanumanji goes to meet Sitaji in Lanka, first she remembers Lakshmana because it's been stinging, as though it's been stinging her all these years, what she said to him before he went to go find Sitaji. Before even remembering and asking about Bhagavan Ram, she asks about Lakshmana. Hmm? Actually, this is common experience that some people have. You know, they speak terribly, remember, and then something tragic happens, and then their whole life, they think in their mind, that was my last conversation with them, and I have no way to change it, and I wish I hadn't said it, and I didn't really mean it. Huh? All of this, the capacity that we develop to not speak impulsively, to not have to retract something or say we didn't mean it, this is considered tapas. Tapas of speech is thinking before we speak, only saying things that ought to be said, and keeping things in mind before we speak. So what are those things? That is what Bhagavan highlights now. So this is now verse number 15. Anudvegakaram vakyam
अनुद्वेगकरं वाक्यं
satyam priyahitam chayat
सत्यं प्रियहितं च यत्
swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva
स्वाध्यायाभ्यसनं चैव
vangmayam tapa uchyate.
वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते.
This is called Vangmaya Tapa. Means this is called tapas of speech. What is it? Well, he's going to list in the first line and second line. But before that, you know, just one more thing. We don't think enough about how speech is a privilege. Only human beings can speak. I mean, other beings can communicate. But imagine if human communication was limited to chirping or barking. You just give thought to what capacity what human beings have been able to achieve because of speech. There could be no technological development. There could be no infrastructural development. There could be no relationships the way we have them if we didn't have speech. You just try and imagine what your life would be without speech. I'm not saying someone who can't speak. I'm saying if the capacity of speech didn't exist in human beings. And so the more you think about it, the more you realize that speech is such that it has the power to make us human beings, but it also has the power to break lives. Mm. There's a Subhashita that says that Lakshmi resides at the tip of our tongue. No, at the tip of our tongue resides Lakshmi, resides friendship, resides relationships, resides all knowledge. So many things reside at the tip of our tongue, meaning the way we speak determines our wealth, our prosperity, our friendship, our relationships, our knowledge. So many things can be destroyed or lost by the way we speak. So these words that can inspire and motivate, like Swami Vivekananda ji or Puja Gurudev, who built this whole Chinmay mission just by, he says, no, he used this little 4-inch instrument or some phrase like that is there. Right, his 4-inch instrument. Well, it can build and it can make and it can inspire, it can transform, but it can also, and then there's others, it's like fires coming out of their mouth. Just waiting to burn other people. Nowadays, speech is such that how can you speak in such a way that within 3 minutes you can capture the attention of the person that you're trying to monetize or you're trying to use to gain your popularity? Isn't it? That's the whole thing. Stop, don't swipe. Like they'll say things like that. They want, how quickly can they catch your attention before you're like, nope, not this one, not this one, not this one. 3 seconds is what they have, right? So power of speech. That is why the tongue is the rudder of our personality. This tongue is what makes or breaks our personality. Okay. Now, before Bhagavan lists what constitutes tapas of speech, certain things are assumed. There's a pre-checklist that exists before you even get to the test that Bhagavan gives. First, you have to ask yourself, is it necessary for me to speak? Sometimes people ask a question and then another person is answering. And they have said everything that there is to be said about that question. They've answered everything that could be said. Now, really speaking, you don't need to add anything because everything's been said. But they turn to you and they're like, do you have anything to add? And your ego says, of course I have something to add. Or some people know nothing about the topic, and you can tell they know nothing about the topic, but they still have to say something. First question is it necessary for me to say anything? The second thing, if it is necessary, the second test is, will my words be honored here? It very clearly they say in our Shastra, if somebody won't listen or won't pay attention, don't waste your energy. Sometimes like you'll hear a speaker, like for example, if Swamiji is invited to something like a holy program, and it's the middle of the program and people are running everywhere and jumping and throwing color and water balloons and whatever. At that time, you think that they're ready to listen to Swamiji? Like, at that time, that is not the time for Swamiji to come and address. It's nice that Swamiji is in town while the program is going on, and it's nice if he tells about the significance. But if his words are not going to be honored there at that time, why speak like that? Like, why waste energy? Two drunk men were having a conversation, and it was nighttime, and there was some luminous thing in the sky. And so they were discussing if it was the sun or the moon. Two drunk men having a discussion about whether that is the sun or the moon. So now one person passes by and they catch him and they say, come, 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 come. Big argument is going on between them. And he said, look, in their drunk tone and all of that, we are trying to figure out if this is the sun or the moon. Which one is it? Now, you think drunk people are going to listen to whatever you say? So this man said, oh, sorry, I'm not from around here. I'm not from around here. know when, where, if your words are going to be honored, but otherwise don't waste your time. Now, some people might be thinking, well, I am not going to talk at home from today because who listens to me here? Well, we have to talk when we have a duty. That we don't have a choice. but, but the point is, one, if it is necessary to speak. Two, if I'll be on tests. What are those tests? Actually, it's a big test. Can you all hear me? I'm getting notification that my internet is unstable. You can hear me okay? No? Yes? Am I back? I'm back? Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're trying to upgrade our internet. We're waiting for them to come and install a better one and all of that. We're in the process. Okay, cool. Anudvegakaram vakyam. You'll see in the verse that is the first word that is there. Anudvegakaram vakyam. Words that are unagitating. Satyam. Words that are truthful. Priya. Priyam. Words that are loving and kind. Hitam. Words that are beneficial. And the tradition adds one more. Mitam. Measured. Actually, measured fits under anudvega karam, means unagitating, because you know when somebody speaks too long, it agitates your mind. So you could put it under there, but this is the test. Now, you know, if you're doing a test and you hear this list, you're like, oh my God, what? So now let us see what Bhagavan has to say about each of these to help us to think a little bit about them. First of all, anudvega karam vakyam. Words that are not agitating. You know, sometimes when somebody says something to us, we feel so agitated, we can't stop thinking about it. And our automatic response is, what am I going to say to them the next time that I meet them? I want to find the right words that I'll throw with a punch that will agitate their mind too. Like, that is the way we approach things. But the purpose of studying the fact that words are not should not be agitating is not to think, oh yeah, those people are not following Bhagavan's words. Remember, it is for us to think about how it feels and make sure we don't make anybody feel like that. This list of tapas is for us. It is not for our coworkers or our friends or our spouses or our children or our parents. It's for us. We're studying Bhagavad Gita for our own selves. So you don't spend time strategizing how you're going to respond to somebody as a result of something they said. In school, you know, there was a point where when we were young and bullying was going on, the teacher taught everyone in class a phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but calling me names will not hurt me, like a little rhyme thing, right? Now, it is true sticks and stones will not break your bones, but it is also true that words hurt. Calling me names won't hurt me. That's not true. Words have the capacity to hurt. In fact, words can sometimes hurt more than physical pain because physical pain eventually heals. But some words, they echo in the mind and they never stop hurting. So hurtful words are agitating words. Huh? Why do people say hurtful things? Well, one is because of their own agitation, right? The other reason people say hurtful or agitating things sometimes is because they want attention. You know, you might say, what? But just think about it. Think about the media. If the media said nice things, would you pay attention to them? The media comes and covers the good work that is being done by Chinmay Mission globally. Who is going to tune into that? They have to give you some dramatic news for everyone to say, did you see the news? Did you see the news? So when the media says something that disturbs the mind, then it captures everybody's attention. The other thing is that it is not possible to control how other people feel. about our words. We'll see that again later, right? But our intention to not agitate is what is being talked about here. I didn't know it would disturb them so much. I didn't mean for it to disturb them so much. There should be no intention to cause agitation when we're speaking. Okay. The next one is satyam. Satyam, truthfulness, honesty in our speech. Actually, it is a big discussion nowadays. Is that real or fake? Top question when you receive something nowadays in the form of a picture or a message or a video. Is that real or fake? Hmm? Then some people go to the comment section of the video to read, is this real or fake? Because you can't tell yourself anymore if it's real or fake. Is that AI or is that real? That's the other question. Is that AI or that's the other version of that, right? Bhagavan saying our speech should be true or in line with reality. Huh? Everybody knows what it means to lie. The opposite of satyam or truthfulness is lying. And people lie and then they cover it up by saying, no, no, I just embellished my words a little bit. Like one man was asked, how much are you worth? He's worth 100,000. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm worth hundreds of thousands. Just add an of in there. That is an embellishment to communicate a falsehood. Yeah, our words have to be truthful. What joy people get from starting rumors is really something amazing, isn't it? But Bhagavan is saying it is tapas to say, I am not going to say anything untruthful. I'm not going to say anything untruthful for fun, for monetization, for getting ahead, for success, for anything. It's tapas because, well, it's not easy to tell the truth all the time. Hmm? It's also tapas because we don't like to say, I don't know. So, what the mind does sometimes is it rather make up a lie than say, I don't know. Hmm? Actually, interesting thing, it is because of ignorance of our nature that we superimpose a wrong nature on ourselves. The same issue, I don't know who I am, is what makes me think I am this limited being because the ego cannot handle the fact and admit that it doesn't know. So it'll make up things about its own self. Huh? That is a side note. That is all lying, also, lying to itself. But what happens at a very ordinary level when we are not truthful is there comes a split in our personality. A split in our personality, meaning one part is saying one thing and another part is thinking one thing. And what happens is that brings fragmentation to our personality. And the fragmentation of the personality brings sorrow to our life. And it makes us weak. You know that saying, when you have a finger, someone can break it, and then when you have a fist, they can't, right? That united we stand, divided we fall, or something like that. Something like that is there, no? Huh. It's the same in the pursuit of moksha also. When my personality is united, every part of my personality is aligned in the same way. There's a great strength in me in my pursuit of the path. When my personality is divided, then I'm weak in my pursuit of moksha also. From a spiritual journey point of view, it is essential to tell the truth. In Self-Unfoldment, Gurudev writes that you should never, ever lie. Like nothing should be justified enough to lie. Hmm? The classic example that is given here is in Devi Bhagavatam, in Devi Bhagavat Mahatmya, there's a section where a Mahatma sees a bandit chasing somebody to kill them. And Mahatma sees the person going to hide. And this bandit comes looking and asks this Mahatma, did you see where this person went? Now, if he says yes, then that person is going to die. If he says no, he is lying. So what should he say? You know what he said? He said, the eyes that see cannot speak, and the mouth that speaks cannot see. Amazing answer. Now, please, you can't go around copying that dialogue. But the point is, the desire to want to live in such a way that I don't tell a lie no matter what gives the mind a creativity in finding a way to not lie and still protect the life of somebody. It's one of my favorite things. The eyes that speak, the eyes that see don't speak, and the mouth that speaks doesn't see. Satyam also means living with integrity. You know, if the people around you are doing something that you don't like, integrity is to say, this is not for me, and leave. Hmm? Like, if you feel that listening to office gossip is a waste of time, but you stick around just so people won't call you a snob, that is not satyam. That is not being truthful to your own self. Huh? So satyam includes integrity, living with integrity such that what I feel inside is the way that I live outside. Hmm? It is tapas because, you know, you tell me, if you have some gossip, is it not really hard to not tell somebody else? You test it like this. You tell somebody, I have some gossip, but I'm trying to practice tapas of speech, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. That's it. They're going to die. What do you mean? No, tell me I'm not going to tell anybody. I promise. I promise. They're not going to leave you until you tell them. It is tapas to not know what the gossip is. It is tapas to not tell what the gossip is also. That is why it is tapas. Tapas is satyam. Satyam requires tapas. Okay. Priyam. The next one is Priyam. Priyam means our words should be loving, they should be kind, they should be pleasant. You know the phrase, the truth hurts? Everyone, defaults to that when you have to say something truthful to someone that hurts. It is true that truth hurts, but you don't have to be the one because of whom it hurts. Meaning, Bhagavan is telling us that tapas of speech is to find a way to say the truth in a nice way, to say the same thing nicely. I watched a scene from a show where one person gives another person a birthday gift. And it is a huge, huge, huge canvas of the two of them. And this person who is the receiver thinks of this person as an ordinary friend, And the person who is the giver thinks this is their best friend in the whole entire world. So this huge painting of the two of them is what she gives. And she's like, do you like it? And so now the receiver is like, do I like it? Wow, this is really something indescribable. Oh my God. Like she doesn't say I don't like it, but she also doesn't say, oh my God, I love it. She just expresses her disbelief in what she just received. Anyways, you also have to, you have to be careful to not give a false impression that you love it. But the point is, the words have to be loving, and the way you say it has to be loving. Sometimes you do have to say things that are not nice. That's just the way truth is. It's not nice sometimes. And people avoid it because they want to avoid not being nice. But if we have to say something that is not nice, one, at least our body language should be nice. The person should tell that we're saying it out of love and care. There should be a comfort in our non-verbal communication versus them already feeling uncomfortable around us when we start to speak. So just to try to make it more comfortable. Okay, next one. So that's the Anudvega Karam Vakyam, unagitating, Satyam, honest, Priyam, loving, and now Hitam. Hitam is beneficial. Hmm? Now, please see, in one class, you cannot talk about every single way of thinking about Satyam, Priyam, Hitam, and all of that. These are just some indications for us to start thinking or continue thinking on this topic. Hmm? Okay, Hitam. Hitam means what I say should be beneficial. You know, a doctor came to speak to a patient, and he said, I have bad news and I have worse news. Which do you want to hear first? And so the patient is thinking, oh my God, what could be worse than bad news? So he says, okay, tell the bad news first. But the bad news is you have only 24 hours to live. That's the bad news. That's the bad news? What's the worst news then? I forgot to call you last week. What is the point of telling somebody that at this point? How is it going to benefit their life? Yes, it is true, but is it beneficial? Hmm? So the question we have to ask ourselves, but at the same time, you can't lie, right? So the test is so Bhagavan's requirement of us is really, really demanding. Hmm? But the point is, words have to be not just true and not just loving, they also have to be beneficial. If it's not going to be benefiting anybody, why say it like that? Hmm? When just a few days ago, I got a video from a family chat of a child upset with her mother for disciplining her. And she's telling her, and her mom is saying sorry to calm her down. This child is packing her bags and getting ready to leave the house. 3-year-old child, huh? Packing her bag, getting ready to leave the house. And mom is saying, trying to calm her down and saying, sorry, sorry, you know. And she's like, don't say sorry, I'm leaving the house. And she's going to her grandmother's house. Now, when that child is angry or upset and doesn't know how to control their emotions, that is not the time to try to teach the child how to behave. You know, that is the time to, well, you shouldn't also say sorry to the child and make them feel like it's not okay for you to discipline them, but it is not the time to sit and teach them. They're not going to listen or understand or benefit from what you're saying. Same with adults. When somebody is angry, it is not the time to tell them what they have done wrong and how they should improve and all of that. You have to, the smart thing is to wait until they cool down, and then only what you say will be properly beneficial. Mm? In Mahabharata, there's a phrase that comes, I think it's Naraji, but I'm not sure who says it, that Satyam is very important, but more important is that one should speak what is beneficial. Honesty is one thing, but beneficiality, is that a word? Beneficialness is more important. Will it benefit me to say it? Now, you know, there are 3 levels of benefit. One is both can benefit by me saying it. I benefit and you benefit. That is the ideal. The other is just the speaker benefits. I just have to say this to get it off my chest. I don't care what happens to you. That's like a mediocre benefit where I benefit. It's also a mediocre benefit if only the other person benefits and I don't. Hmm? And the worst form is neither benefits. Hmm? I don't benefit by saying it. You don't benefit by hearing it. Our relationship gets worse. The situation gets worse. That is where neither benefits. So the third test of speech is the words have to be um, beneficial. Okay. Now the last one, Satyam Priyam Hitam. The fourth one, the additional one that Mahatmas add is Mitam. Mitam means our speech should be measured, not go on and on and on, on and on, not go on and on and on. Okay. Um, one man was giving a speech, and at the end, he was like, oh my God, it's supposed to be a 5-minute speech, huh? And he went on for like almost an hour. And finally, afterwards, he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't see the time. And someone in the audience got up and said, yeah, there wasn't a clock, but there was a calendar on the wall. So long you talk. another man another man was talking. There are so many jokes around these things, another man was talking to his friend after he had given, you said the same man. Now he's talking to his friend after this speech, right? He's saying, so how was my speech? And his friend turns to him and says, you don't have to be eternal to be immortal. Anyways, there is an art of speaking. Who we speak to, when we speak to them. In the art of speaking and considering Satyam, Priyam, Hitam, Mitam, all of this, it is also one other thing to be considered in all of this is when you speak to them. For example, when a child is young, some parents speak to them like they're grown ups. When a child shouldn't be given the opportunity to make a decision, the parent speaks to them like they're a grown up who has the capacity to make their own decision. Then, when they become teenagers and they want to be treated like grown ups, then the parents start to treat them like a child. And then they wonder, why does this child not understand me? Means there's an appropriate time in which you speak to the child, the growing child, in a different way. That thing, no? First 5 years, you give them love. Then the next 5 to 10 years, you give them discipline. And then after that, you become their friend. You'll speak to your friend the way you speak to your teenagers? No. Well, you had a chance when you were supposed to discipline them, but that time you wanted them to be your friends. Now you want to discipline them. It doesn't work mixing it up like that. So there's a time. The other thing is speaking to somebody who has a sensitivity around a certain topic. One time in the teenage class in Toronto that I was taking, we were talking about something and someone asked a question and it led to the topic of suicide. And I made a joke on suicide to lighten the mood. Well, it so happened that that week, someone in one of the teenagers' school classes had just committed suicide. And this girl ran out of the classroom and didn't want to come back to the class. It means knowing what to say around people who have sensitivity around a topic, even though it is well intended, you have to know who you're speaking to also. And there wasn't a way for me to know, but it was a very important thing. Actually, in the teenagers class, we have to use gender neutral words. We cannot give the impression that we have a bias against any kind of sensitive social issues that they care about. Because what happens is that they stop paying attention to what we're trying to teach them or show them, and their mind just gets carried away by our opinion on the topic. Oh, so you mean that they just go on a totally wrong track. So you have to watch the words you say so that their mind is not agitated, so they can actually pay attention to what you're trying to say. You can't say, okay, we're going to play boys versus girls in a teenage class anymore because their measure of what you say, boys versus girls, is what? You mean that you don't accept the fact that people have the choice to have a middle gender? And like, no, that's not what I meant. I just meant get into two groups for a competition. You have to know who you're speaking to, when, and all of that, right? Now, the question is, how much of what you say is going to pass the test of Bhagavan's speech? Unagitating, honest, loving, beneficial, measured. Oh God, measured. Some people, when they finally get a chance to tell somebody how they were wronged, you did this and then you did that, and then they go on and on. They just can't stop. Actually, the best example, it is very hard. It is very, very, very hard to speak like this. That is why it is a tapas. Huh? And it is not something that automatically comes. I mean, you talk about this and someone asks, well, if my daughter-in-law, someone actually asked this, if my daughter-in-law asks me if she's looking nice, but she's wearing something that is not looking nice, what should I say to her? I don't know. She's your daughter-in-law. I don't know. I'm joking. The point is, please, I was joking, huh? The point is, sometimes it is very, very hard to figure out how to make your words unagitating, at the same time truthful, at the same time loving, at the same time beneficial. And to say it in a measured way. So, Ramayana is the best example of how to learn how to speak. You know, when Keikei speaks to Dashratha, the words that she speaks about the boons, it is true that Dashratha owes her boons. It is true she can ask for anything that she wants, right? But the way she says it to him, it is described that it struck him like an arrow. Imagine the pain that would have been caused by the way Keikei spoke to him. Then you fast forward a little bit to when Bhagavan Rama goes to Kausalyama and tells her about the same boons. You know what? Actually, since I have the harmonium right here, why don't we try to sing it? Try, I'm saying try, huh? But try to sing it. This is, I'll tell you what the words are. They're just so, so, so beautiful. I know this is Bhagavad Gita class, but this is such a profound line in Ramayana that I think that it is worth it to pause and listen to it. धर्मधुरीन धर्मगति जानी कहे मातु सन अति मृदुबानी पिता दीन मोहि कानन राजू जहाँ सब भांति मोहि. Where'd it go? जहाँ सब भांति मोर बर काजू आयसु देहि मुदित मन माता जेहि मुद मंगल कानन जाता जनि स्नेह बस डर पसी भोरे आनदु अम्ब अनुग्रह तोरे. श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम. श्री जय राम जय जय राम. श्री राम जय जय राम. श्री राम जय जय राम. Tulsidas ji writes, Dharamadhurina dharamagati jani. This Dharamadhurin, this person who is a champion of dharma, he knew the right thing to do. He knew what was dharma. And he went to speak to his mother. Kahiu matu sana, he said to his mother, Kausalyama, Ati mridu bani, extremely sweet words. How can words that you're going to tell, I am leaving, context, just before this line comes, he goes to Kausalyama and she sees him not dressed yet. He's wearing maybe pajamas or something, right? Because he was rushed out of his room to go meet Kausalyama. And she's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you not ready? Go and get ready. And the ceremony is going to be so long. Eat something so you don't be hungry. And she's like, telling him she's excited, she's waiting. And now Bhagavan Ram has to break the news. Ati mridubani. What can be sweet words in this context? Huh? See. Pita deenha mohi kanana raju. My father has given me the kingdom of the forest. Not he has taken away this kingdom from me, he has given me the kingdom of the forest. Second, Jaha sababhati mora bara kaju. Where in all ways there will be my benefit. So he's telling her, you tell me, is this not true? Is it not told in a loving way? Is it not beneficial? My benefit will be there. He adds that in one half of a chaupai. And it's so short. You can memorize this line for the rest of your life. So short it is. He continues, Ayasudehi, give me permission to go. Mudita manamata, O mother, give me permission to go with a joyous mind, happily. Jehi mudda mangala kanana jata. Means so that my journey to the forest will be filled with blessings and joy. One chaupai. He communicates this thing. You know, it is, you cannot learn how to speak in a better way than from Bhagavan Sri Rama. This is the best example of this Satya Priya Hita Mita. Really, best example. Now, Bhagavan Sri Rama, he tells her, I'll go and spend 14 years and all of that. Now, what do you think Kausalya Ma's reaction should be to this? The words were loving, they were kind, they were beneficial, they were not agitating from his point of view. But still, Tulsidashi writes, Bachana Benita Madhura Raghubarake, these gentle and sweet words of Bhagavan Rama, Sarasama Lage Matu Ura Karake, they hit her heart like an arrow. It didn't matter that the speech was soft and sweet and kind and loving, it still pierced her like an arrow. Right? Meaning, we actually cannot control how others feel. That is the truth of it. But we can control how we speak. And our measure of speech should not be how others feel. Our measure of speech should be the integrity of asking ourselves, did I meet these tests? It's very easy for our mind to say, well, it's not my fault. Of course they would have been hurt by this. But Bhagavan Ram would have known for sure. He spoke kindly, he spoke lovingly, he spoke the truth, he spoke for her benefit, he spoke for his benefit. He met all the tests. Then after that, what can you do? So we have the potential to refine our speech. If we didn't, Bhagavan Sri Krishna would not have put it in Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavan Sri Rama would not have demonstrated it in Ramayana. We are using a small fraction of our potential because it is easier to not think about it. Right? But to speak honestly, kindly, and all of that, the reward is so great. People usually calculate their reward in terms of money or success. But the reward for this is moksha. Because tapas is for spiritual growth. That is what we're going to get after putting in all this effort. Now, another thing, a clause comes to make it worse. Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya explains in the commentary that for it to be considered tapas of speech, all of them have to be there, not just one. So, you know how sometimes if you just speak truthfully, you feel like, okay, I did a good job? Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya is saying, no, that's not called tapas of speech. Sorry. It's not a multiple choice option. It's every single one applies. So all have to be there. That means some serious QC is required in our mind. Quality control. In production lines, the more dangerous the thing that is being produced, the greater the side effects or the bigger the consequences and implications, the more severe and intense is the quality control. The quality check becomes more intense with the intensity of the consequences of the thing that is being produced. Like if somebody is producing chemicals and they're making vinegar, the test for vinegar will be one thing versus the test for some acid which will touch something and burn or catch flames. Correct or wrong? Quality control for those two things will be different. Now, you think, what is the power of our tongue? of our words. It is more flammable than any flammable material. Means it has the capacity to ignite more than anything in this world, right? So words can destroy relationships, families, nations, ourselves. Words can really destroy. So then the question is, well, if a company cannot meet the quality standard, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to stop. Can you stop speaking? Not possible also to stop speaking. So one of the techniques is, it is easier to control the quality of something if the quantity is less. You know this. This is a principle in the work world also, no? If in the beginning, when new companies have small volumes, their quality is amazing. And then as their volume grows, then people start to complain about the quality. Because quantity and quality sometimes have a trade-off. So now if I don't have a choice and I have to speak, well, one of the options is, let me reduce the quantity and focus on the quality. That is another way to think about it. Okay, one more thing I'll tell about this is, sometimes you do need to speak strongly because otherwise people won't listen. That is the reality of the world that we live in. Everyone would have experienced that at some point in time. But if it comes to that, you have to make sure, this is not me saying, this is Mahatmas teaching us after years and years and years of thinking and reflecting. We should make sure that we have exhausted all other measures. With integrity, we make sure we've exhausted all measures of nicety. Samadana, Bheda, Danda, the 4 measures are there. Make sure we have exhausted all of it. And then the other thing, the question is not about, but they deserve it. That should not be our measure. But they deserve it, The measure in our mind should be, it's going to impact my spiritual growth. It's a dent in my tapas. Is it worth it? And here's a test. If somebody was going to say, okay, I will pay you $10,000 US, not Guyana dollars, 10,000 US dollars to find a nicer way to say it. I'm going to fly you in to my company and pay you $10,000 to find a nicer way to tell this person that they're fired. Tell me, you'll not find a way to find a nice way to say it? Because we value money. Right? But say, after all of that, really, 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 there's no other way except to say it in a not nice way. Well, if we compromise, then we have to acknowledge that it wasn't ideal. We shouldn't justify. One problem is that we justify. So at least our mind should refuse to justify, and it should find a way to, it should feel like I have transgressed proper speech. Yes, it wasn't ideal, but I have transgressed proper speech. And you have to take, you want a company to take responsibility for the chemicals that they spew into the atmosphere, right? In the same way, we have to take responsibility for the fact that we said something that was not nice. And that might come it might come out in me doing some kind of extra tapas in a different way. It might come out in, in so many different ways. There are people who criticize, but the way they criticize, it feels like love. True or false? It feels like love because they've developed the capacity, or their intention is to not hurt. So what they do is like they quote the harsh truth around honest niceness. You ask yourself, if you're going to speak the harsh truth to somebody, do you only tell them the truth when it hurts, or do you only tell them constructive criticism, or do you also give compliments, genuine compliments? When someone does something nice, it just, oh yeah, they did something nice. In your head, you tell, right? But if honestly you really genuinely recognize the good in them, eventually it is easier for them to digest the bad also when you say it. some people don't mind when they're criticized by you. The criticism also sounds sweet in the mind. So you can cushion it amidst real compliments, not fake ones for sake of real compliments. If they cushion the harshness, it makes it easier. And don't dwell on it. You just tell it and finish and move on. Now, it feels impossible. Actually, when you start to think about it, it feels impossible. But we do a lot of things that are seemingly impossible. Here, if someone were to tell you, you can download your thoughts into a computer and then tell the computer to organize it and represent it intelligently back to you. 10 years ago, if someone told you this, you would tell them you're mad. But what is AI today doing? Not only your thoughts, it's taking global thoughts and putting them together for you. Or, okay, leave AI. Brush your teeth and text somebody. Can you not do it at the same time? you can't mimic the action here, but when you're brushing your teeth, you can text very easily. I don't know if you've tried it. or when people are driving, they can drive. I can't, but they can drive and choose a song and change the AC and talk to somebody all at the same time. That thing sounds impossible to me. I don't think I can ever do that. I can barely drive. But it comes with practice, is it not? It comes with practice. The same way, practice is what helps us to make our speech more in line with this. It's tapas. It's not going to be easy to do, but we practice and we try our best, and we know that we set it as the ideal, and then we work towards it. Okay. Now, oh my God, look how time went. Svadhyaya abhyasanam. That's the last phrase in this verse. Let's see if we can finish it out. Svadhyaya abhyasanam is the practice of svadhyaya, meaning the practice of self-study. That is also tapas of speech. It includes chanting, it includes japa, it includes reading, it includes reflecting on a few pages that you have read. All of that will fall under Svadhyaya Abhyasana. Practice of means regular. Like Gurudev has given a schedule for Svadhyaya, like a spiritual prescription. You start with Kindle Life and you read 5 or 10 pages a day, not more, and you go through it, and when you're done, you start back and you do it again, and then you go to the next book and then the next book. Like that. There's a whole schedule to go through for self-study, right? Like that. That's Svadhyaya also. How is this tapas of speech though? You're not tapas of speech to do Svadhyaya? Well, see, if you're sitting and studying something, or you're sitting and chanting something, what you're not doing is chatting with somebody else, isn't it? You're not chatting with someone else at that time. So that speech is controlled from there. Even scrolling is endless chatting. Actually, it's endless chatting with other people. You're listening to them talk. Or we're listening to other people talk to us. That is what is going on. Who determines what people tell you when you're scrolling? Algorithms is the fancy word. Algorithms determine what you're told when you're scrolling. Are they thinking about you? Your benefit and your growth and they're thinking about you, how to monetize you. They're thinking about you, how to get your attention, but they're not thinking about you. You know what I mean? I mean? Do you need sleep? Do you need to put your phone down so you can do something else? They're not thinking that. And I told you all, no, I think it was in this class that I told. When Netflix sat in their boardroom, Netflix or YouTube, one of them, and they were discussing their competitors, one of their competitors was listed as sleep. How can we fight against sleep? True story. I'm not making this up. I can't remember if it was Netflix or YouTube, one of them, like that. Anyways, when we read something from Shastra, anything, when we're reading anything, what is happening is we're saying it in our mind. I'm trying to think through how this is tapas of speech. We're saying it in our mind. Like Gurudev says, right? That we are the first listener when we're speaking. So, do you guys know the 4 stages of speech? Have you all heard the 4 stages of speech? It's really cool, huh? We have a few minutes, I'll tell you all, since we can't start a new topic. The 4 stages of speech. Actually, speaking outside is the 4th stage. It is the external verbal articulation, but there are 3 more stages before that. If you've heard these words before, para, pashyanti, madhyama, vaikhari. I'm just telling you all this for fun. 4 stages of speech. And also to think about how svadhyaya will be considered as tapas of speech. See, the first one is called para. Para literally means beyond. Means the speech that is beyond. What? It sounds so like, what is the word? I need to find that word. That word keeps slipping my mind. So something, right? We also don't know what that thing is which we're going to be saying. You know, like when class is over, you're going to say something. Do you know what you're going to say? Well, if someone was making noise in the background, which they weren't supposed to be making, you know, as soon as class is over, I'm going to go and yell at them, right? That one you know. But I mean, generally, after class is over, you don't know necessarily what you're going to say or what you're going to say at the end of the day. But is it there in you? Well, if it's not inside you, how are you going to say it? In some form, in some unmanifest, unseen form, it will be in there. In the causal body, in our vasanas, it'll be there. So there are the first stage of speech is that it exists in para, as para, in unmanifest to us form. Beyond. We don't even know of its existence, but it is there. The second stage is called pashyanti. Pashyanti is when it comes into our mind. So now it is visible to us. It is not visible to other people. It is visible to us in the form of an idea. It has not even yet been vocalized in our mind. No words have been put around it, but the idea is there. You know, the question, if you know multiple languages, they'll ask, what language do you think in? And you have to, I think in English, or I think in French, or Sanskrit, or you may know different languages, but you'll think in a certain language. But the idea can exist in your mind even before it is articulated in a language. Have you noticed? It is there, but it doesn't have words around it yet. That is called pashyanti. Then, the third stage is madhyama. Madhyama is when that idea becomes articulated in speech, in any language in your mind. Whatever language you know, it is articulated in your mind and it is silent. Means no one else can hear it. Only you can hear it. And then the fourth stage of speech is when that speech which was inside you now comes outside, when it is vocalized. So, para, I myself don't know, but it is there because eventually it will come out. I feel like eating a gulab jamun. I mean, your vasanas are there, no? So the feeling is in the vasanas. You just don't know yet that at 3 p.m. today you're going to say, I feel like eating a gulab jamun, prompted by your vasanas. Para. Like that, right? It comes in stages. It comes out in stages. So now, when we are reading something in Svadhyaya, it is not vocalized, but it is articulated in a language, in the form of silent speech. And it is tapas because it is our mind is directed differently than our mind wants to be directed. The mind wants to watch and relax and listen to whatever and do whatever and think whatever. But there is an effort of sitting to listen to something from Shastra. It takes more effort. You know the test? When you're going to bed. True or false? Some people sit in bed and they spend like 30 minutes scrolling. Have you seen people sit and they scroll? If you have, I mean, we shouldn't even pick on poor children anymore. Adults also do this nowadays. Right? We used to pick on the teenagers, but now it's a universal problem. Right? You switch one day to reading Guruji or Gurudev's book, in 10 minutes or less. 10 minutes if you're lucky. Your mind will say, I'm too tired, I'm too tired. Let's go to sleep. You try it. It is harder to sit and read something because it is tapas. Means you see how it is tapas, right? Then it is also called a practice. Why is it called a practice? Because we have to practice keeping our mind there. When you first start, especially if it is Gurudev's writing, you read a few paragraphs. Then you pause and you're like, what did I read? And then you have to go back and you have to try and read it again. What did I miss? Wait, what? Another way that it's tapas is, we're supposed to do svadhyaya every single day. In sadhana panchakam, the first sadhana is Vedo nityam adhiyatam. Every day we have to study the scriptures. Who wants to do that every day? But it's like brushing our teeth. We have to do it every day. You know the tapas that children go through until they learn that brushing has to be done every day, whether they like it or not? That same tapas our mind has to go through to come to terms with the fact that it has to do svadhyaya every day. It is a form of tapas. So you can make a resolve. I am not going to eat until I do my svadhyaya. Or I am not going to eat breakfast tomorrow if I don't do my svadhyaya tonight. Or something, whatever it is, if you do it morning or night. That kind of thing. Then it will really show you how it is tapas. So this is tapas of speech. Unagitating, satyam, honest, priyam, loving, hitam, beneficial, and mitam, measured. And then of course svadhyaya abhyasanam, engaging in the practice of svadhyaya. All of this Bhagavan calls tapas of speech. And to engage, see how cool this is. To engage in tapas of speech, our intellect and our speech need to be united. You know who's the devata of speech? The Devi of speech? Devata means Devi or Devata. Saraswati Ma is the Devi of speech. You know who's the Devata of buddhi, of our intellect? Brahmaji. So, see how Saraswati Ma and Brahmaji are consorts? It is an external reminder that our intellect and our speech have to be united. It's so cool. Everything in Sanatana Dharma is so cool if you just look at it a little bit. Okay, so why are we doing this effort? Because, well, tapas has its own benefit. No, you all think about it a little bit. What is the benefit of going through all this torture of thinking about how I speak before I speak? I will continue next week. So this was tapas of speech. Good, thank God we finished it. Next week we will see tapas of mind. Tapas of mind. So then after that, Bhagavan will talk about how these things fall also under sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Okay, we'll do closing prayer, and then I will take any questions. Today we didn't have discussion. We'll make time next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Harihi Om. 1 second. Okay. Anybody have anything to say or ask? You can unmute yourselves now.